We are now in session. It's June 5th, and this is a special meeting called at the request of the town manager to discuss a project that the town is interested in exploring. So I think what I'm going to do is turn it over to Stu, and you could outline what the situation is that calls us together. And then
well, yes. This wall, we've been aware of its condition for a number of years, but it's slowly getting worse. And I don't know whether I sent around photographs at one point, but it's in pretty bad shape. And we're at the end of our budget year. Highway is pretty much exhausted itself. General fund is also near the end. But we've got a contractor who's interested in doing the work, and we'd like to get the work done. The proposal you see is $38,100. I would like to use the capital reserve. It's a little unusual to use that for this kind of a project, but we've just increased it by $129,000. So I thought if we could pull some money, it is a capital project, but normally we like to see those funds spent down in the government center. But I think this is an important project, and I'd love to have your permission to use the reserve to do this.
Could I, before I turn it over to my colleagues, just raise a couple of concerns that I have with it. One, it's not in the existing budget, obviously, and it's not in the July 1st budget because it wasn't anticipated at that point in time. So right now it's an unfunded request. Normally, at the time of budget, when we have our meetings, we talk about plans for highways and improvements and the like, and we have that discussion in January. And when we formulate our budget that's presented to the town, it includes projects like this. What is of concern to me is whether or not this is emergent enough to meet, is the wall falling in, or are we having some issues that are so critical that we should take steps to improve it or go through the standard budget process? Because otherwise, why do we have a budget?
Well, I tend to agree. I mean, I think that had we been a little bit more heads up back last fall, this project probably would have been in the highway fund budget, because it is getting to the point where we're starting to see cracks in the surface of the sidewalk. We're starting to lose some stability, obviously, underneath that sidewalk, and I think RJ told me the sidewalk is about 300 feet long. So and it's from my perspective anyway, it's an important pedestrian need on Imperial, because Imperial is very, very narrow as you come down the hill around that shop.
It's historically been a challenge, I think, just to maintain that.
Yes, and we've made some good strides in drainage and things like that, but for whatever reason, this wall just didn't hit us last year with the same concern that we have now this year. Maybe more the rain is causing some additional deterioration there. But we have a concern now that if we try to wait until the next budget session, that'll be pushing it back into July 2018. And I don't think I'd want to wait that long.
What are the town's perceived risks with not doing this repair?
If the sidewalk collapses while someone's on.
Well, it's a retaining wall, yes, but I mean, is it imminent? Do you feel like it's imminent?
I'm afraid that it's close. I mean, if you look at those photographs, there are some places where the entire facade is gone, and you've just got the hard heads that are essentially holding up that, and they were built probably 70 or 80 years ago.
And the risk of liability to the town?
If it collapses and someone is hurt, huge.
Stu, what brought it to your attention recently?
The adjoining property owner, Henry Simpatico, contacted us once again this year. Sent RJ up to take a look at it again, and he came back with photographs and was actually kind of surprised at where the wall is at now, at least in certain sections of it.
But understand, this is not the first.
Oh no, it's not the first time he's come to us about it.
Yeah.
He's been constant, and I'll give him credit for that. And projects that it's out there, you know it's out there, but it just doesn't rise to the level until you get to a point where you're looking at it and you're saying, geez, we should have done something about this some time ago.
Yeah, Gene?
I went up and looked at it yesterday, actually, with Jeannie, and yeah, it's pretty bad. And the railing, does this include a railing?
I don't know that it does.
And the other thing I thought of as I was looking at it is the tree roots maybe playing a role in why it's deteriorating. So I'm wondering if there's going to be some tree work also that would increase the cost. I'm not saying
and well, if there's work beyond this that has to get done, we'll probably do that with our own crews.
Okay.
In concert. This guy is a concrete guy.
Right, I know that. Some of those trees are enormous. I don't know if we have the capacity to do that.
Well, they're probably outside our right of way. So they're probably outside our right of way. So we may end up having to work with the property owners.
Yeah. Anyway,
do that
it's
kind of work.
pretty bad.
The other thing concerns, Jack, go ahead.
Well, I just had if the wall were to collapse, obviously the integrity of the sidewalk, would it impact the integrity of the road as well?
It could possibly.
It would, okay.
The other underlying concern that I have is, a capital reserve, I like to see it used for real capital improvements that are planned out and not just for emergent situations like this. And if we try to develop and maintain a capital reserve for significant capital projects, if we just say, well, here's a project, let's go and grab it. I'm concerned that we're just not using the reserve for the real purposes it's created for.
I would disagree.
I live on Imperial. So I've gone up and down that street for 25 years, and that section has always been in bad shape. I would argue that whatever we do has to include redoing the fencing, which is really dangerous. You get to the last section and there's no fencing, and the drop off is like 4 feet. And so further up, it's even worse. But it does feel like it's something that has been in bad shape for a long time. It was we asphalted over really bad cracked sidewalk a couple years ago. That's sort of in bad shape again. I don't know. I mean, I hate deferred maintenance when it's this long.
I just think we should be more proactive in planning for these things so that we don't get these surprises. So we had a surprise with the vehicles. That was somewhat concerning to yours truly with the highway department saying, oh, we meant to include it in, we didn't. And it makes us look like we're not doing a good job in our planning process. And we take a lot of heat for planning or lack sometimes thereof. And I just am concerned that this is just another project that could be fodder for.
How long has this been a problem that you've been aware of?
It's probably been years.
Like 20. I mean, it's good and bad
Well, I don't know that. But
So follow-up
when
question.
Henry first started approaching me, it's been years.
Follow-up with this is, has this been, in your opinion, engineered in a way that, is going to obviate this problem going forward?
I mean, we're very simple terms. We're going to rebuild the retaining wall, essentially. Fill in the gaps underneath the sidewalk.
Do you understand why it failed?
I think age and the way it was built. I mean, they didn't use the proper material, you could argue. I mean, it's all, if you look at those photographs, they're hard hits, they're river bottom material, rounded, smooth surface. That's not normally what you use to build a wall.
So do you feel confident that RJ's assessment of this will correct that and prevent
Yes.
any lifespan on it?
I think we can probably get another 25 years. These guys, they take True and Sons are good. Concrete.
Yeah, I've seen their work.
Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
But we're gonna need to replace the railing all the way.
And I think RJ has that in his head to do the railing. We probably, if there are spots where it's not extended, we probably need to look at those too.
Go ahead.
I just had a few things, kind of start from the top and go from there. It's great we have access to these funds, these additional funds that weren't necessarily kind of factored into the budget maybe a year ago. As Tom said, probably best not to jump to spending those if it's not an emergency situation. Hard to determine right now if this is an emergency or not. If it's been in 25 years of kind of downgrade as far as original work to where we are now. I certainly don't want to forecast if it's going to, rain like this, could take it out tomorrow. If it's going to happen 10 years from now, I don't know. But again, congrats on getting those funds. Trying to find out a few different things. When we walk around town, there's always areas of concern, whether it be roads decaying or sidewalks decaying or bridges. I know we often try to attack them budget cycles in advance, but I think the answer is going to be no to this. But Imperial Ave, I do enjoy running up it and things like that. It's a nice place to be. But as far as volume of pedestrians and volume of use, have we weighed kind of, is that an area of the most concern based on the number of people or vehicular traffic moving over that road? I don't know the answer to that. It's certainly not one that probably can be answered right now, but if we're looking at a concern, does it map against the need for it? It's probably something we should look into as much as anything, because although I like Imperial, I don't necessarily see a high amount of traffic compared to other streets and areas.
Less vehicular, but a lot of foot traffic.
Okay, so the a lot word is great, but I'd like to
traffic.
quantify it since we're about to spend potentially a significant amount of money. So it can be more than just a perception and more of like some data points. I don't know what those are, but I think it might be worth the exercise. And the scope of the quote, I certainly respect RJ's opinion on it. He's an expert in the industry, but as we're just talking here, the 38,100 and the concrete work, just the tree concerns, the railing, was it built originally to, stand the test of time? I'm not an expert, I have no idea. I know RJ is an expert in general, but I just get concerned that if we attack it with a Band-Aid at $38,000, why don't we maybe look at it for next year and try to have it all these questions answered and then do a full fix on it? Because it doesn't sound like just concrete and a little bit of, concrete is going to fix this problem. It sounds like there's a lot more to it, but I don't know. I was up there today. I looked it all over, and it's in bad shape. I couldn't agree more with you. But I also continue to walk the circle, and there's a lot of other bad areas too. So I just kind of wanted to look at it all before we just maybe jump into it.
Well, I want to jump in here. I appreciate your frugality and wanting to look at this deeper, but from what Stu has said, there's imminent danger, not just to the people that walk that street, but to the town and the potential liability.
Is that in fact a careful analysis that would rise to that level of
Well,
concern?
I don't know. I wouldn't. Eminent is
I think
potential.
Strong word.
It could collapse.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know.
But your best assessment a few minutes ago, you said that
we're very concerned.
there's risk.
We're very concerned, but we haven't brought a structural engineer in and done that kind of analysis to see whether or not it's got another year's life or 2 years' life, or whether it's only 6 months before it goes.
Well, that's concerning to me, Stu. That if that kind of work hasn't been done, why hasn't it been done? And if we're going to spend this kind of money.
Jane?
Because we're at your end. I'm on the rush.
I completely forgot what I was going to say.
He'll come back.
It's not coming.
I just tend to agree with Carson that really we should do a real analytical review of this area to determine the imminency of the concern that if we don't do something. And also, let's correct this, because it's not just some asphalt. It's basically like retaining wall like we have on Morgan Street at its back. which has turned out to be great. But rather than just do it, I'm just concerned that he's jumping in without a budgetary plan.
I want to just dovetail on that. If there is the concern that you, Stu and RJ have with this, is there anything that's being done to shore it up? You know, just to,
Not at the present time.
nothing.
Came back.
Gen X.
Yeah, right. It's because I'm a boomer. This is just a question. I don't know where this will go, but if we decided to do it this year, can money be put back into the reserve fund as if we did it next year? I agree with you. I like to plan. I really do. This is a little uncomfortable, and I'm more uncomfortable with the fact that we really don't have the total cost right now because the railing isn't included in the possible tree work. But if we did it this year, if we were comfortable in approving this, is it possible to do that, Stu?
To replenish.
To replenish the money next year as if we did the project next year?
Yes, you could in the FY19 budget add monies to the highway fund to replenish the capital reserve. You could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, instead of, because we've got other work I want to get done here, I'm going to withdraw this request and we'll get a structural engineer on site
And the railing.
Do more analysis and come back to you.
Sue, could you also, I know, got a very reputable contracting firm, but I think we'd all be more comfortable that if we really got 2 or 3 estimates from the parties that are going to potentially.
Well, yeah, we'll obviously we did this on the run.
Yeah.
So we'll take our time. We'll be back probably later in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to make one further suggestion, and that is, you know, RJ and you have expressed caution over this, and if there's some shoring up
We'll do it.
that can be done, do it right away.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. We'll get a structural engineer.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Is there anything else to help Sue? Good. All right. There is a need for an executive session tonight to discuss a matter of personnel. So if I could have a motion for that purpose.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the executive session for matters that are need to be discussed in executive session and not appropriate for public consumption, signify aye, and that's 5 in favor. And no opposition.